a special welcome to the Internet on the audience joining us on UTV.org and Open Campus Facebook page, especially our regional media, Open Campus staff, students, and other stakeholders. We are glad you can join us, and I sincerely hope that you find the meeting informative and rewarding. At the end of the presentations by the campus principal and the Vice Chancellor, we will invite questions from the media before the close of the public session. Comments and questions from members will be taken in the closed session. Government Ministers, Vice Chancellor Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, Pro-Vice Chancellors and Campus Principals, Campus Council, specially invited guests, members of the media, our UETV and online family. On behalf of the Open Campus, let me put on record our sincere congratulations to our University of the West Indies on its 75th anniversary. We at the Open Campus, through all our iterations commencing 75 years ago, from extramural departments located in confined office spaces to an open campus throughout the region and with a global presence, has been with you every step of your illustrious journey. May I recommend a brief scan of the book, Breaking Down the Walls, which documents the evolution of the extramural department of the University of the West Indies, 1947 to 2000, which demonstrates that we have kept faithful to our underlying and foundational philosophy of continuing to open doors to lifelong learning for these 75 years. This book reminds us that, and I quote, "The creation of an extramural department is integral to the very concept of a regional university designed to serve an archipelago of 14 countries separated by the Caribbean Sea." In other words, and I quote a 1950s document, the extramural department was the unit dedicated to bringing the university college to its scattered constituents who could not come to it. 75 years later, the countries remain scattered. The landed campuses remain in their locations, but the nimble open campus is present everywhere. Today, ladies and gentlemen, this current configuration of what was the extramural department is now so decentralized that the open campus is located in 18 countries and its reach and accessibility are global. The Open Campus has transformed into a highly respected global higher education institution with modern internet technologies, courses and programs, trained e-tutors, and approximately 75 years of teaching and research experience. The Open Campus delivers higher education services to empower more Caribbean people every day. It is making its contribution to the dream of one graduate in every home, to giving young citizens, mothers, the under-resourced, the rural population, and those who did not have the wherewithal to venture to landed campuses, the opportunity to realize their academic dreams and their social and economic upliftment. As noted by our principal, and I quote, "It is when one witnesses the variegated socio-economic levels of our graduates that one can really legitimately appreciate the meaning of empowering people and lifting them out of the persistent poverty that still bedevils our Caribbean region. In our innovative evolution, we have demonstrated from the onset and at all times that we were in tune with the AAA strategy of access, alignment, and agility, even before it was documented. We have proven that we are able and capable of adapting to the new vision, new technology, and changing demands and needs. Moreover, we are already rooted, stand ready, and rising to meet the new visioning for the second quarter of the 21st century. The Open Campus is the online campus in the UWI system with the same rigor and high educational standards that the University of the West Indies is known for regionally and internationally. We are at the forefront of teaching and learning. We were at the forefront of teaching and learning during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic and ensured continuity of our beloved institution. Ladies and gentlemen, it has not been an easy journey, and over the last few years, we have encountered very severe and daunting financial challenges. The inadequacy of payments to the campus must not be allowed to hamper the continued provision of quality services. While our achievements remain impressive, as you will see in the presentation of our work over the last year, all the glory goes to dedicated staff, understanding students, and those governments which have been generous through these trying times. We urge all to come on board in their support and the provision of teaching and learning in a wide range of pre-university, undergraduate, postgraduate, and continuing and professional education programs and courses, public service and national development initiatives, outreach activities, including country conferences, workshops, seminars, representation, and engagement with national stakeholders in the respective countries or jurisdictions, and research and publication. We look forward to returning to a place where the business of providing quality higher education is our primary concern to all our constituents, especially those not located in the vicinity of a landed campus. A place where we can again concentrate on the common humanity and the right to development of the entire region. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And I now invite the Pro Vice Chancellor and Principal of the Open Campus, Dr. Francis Severin, and his team to present the annual report.
Thank you very much, Campus Council Chair, Ambassador June Sumah. I'm going to assume that the audience is seeing my slideshow and you can hear me clearly. This year's cover theme represents the imminent launch of the Open Campus as a global campus of the UWI. It emphasizes our digital connectivity and the diverse network of stakeholders, both regionally and internationally. The campus will continue to serve while demonstrating an interplay on the use of technology as the connecting and enabling force for the UWI Global Campus. It depicts that we are part of a bigger movement or juggernaut. The Open Campus is going to lead the way, ladies and gentlemen, into the global space. I am therefore pleased to present the annual report of the UWI Open Campus for the period 2021 to 2022. I will take you through the overall highlights of our stewardship of this campus, and by extension, how we played our unique role in contributing to the development of our hamlets, countrysides, villages, towns, and cities. I will call upon my colleagues to facilitate this journey, and they will report on their respective divisions for the same period, that is 2021-22. I will then return to wrap up by offering an insight into the way forward. We are grateful that you have joined us virtually for this fundamental occasion. We present this report, ladies and gentlemen, in this august body to you with utmost humility and in the spirit of one UWI, fully conscious that you are our valued stakeholders and we exist to serve our region, no matter what, We are made for service. It is beyond argument that the Open Campus is optimally placed on the technology and experience spheres to shepherd the UWI safely and efficiently through the global space. Our Caribbean reach is wide, and this comes from our online expertise that we clearly demonstrated during the COVID-19 pandemic in ensuring that the UWI did not come to a grinding halt. We are virtual campus with the boon of 42 physical site locations serving 17 English-speaking Caribbean countries. This present slide underscores the range of Caribbean countries and therefore some of the major nationalities of our students. The Open Campus is constructed on the deep understanding that although one Caribbean nation, our people embody a kaleidoscope of aspirations, hopes, and dreams. In reviewing the year 2021-22, my colleagues and I will show how we have been faithful to the spirit and the practice of the AAA strategy of access, alignment, and agility. Access is all about our students. On the matter of access, as a region, the Caribbean is woefully lagging Latin America, and indeed several regions in the world in terms of the percentage of the relevant age cohorts enrolled in higher education. If we do not expand access to quality education, my friends, we will have no chance of reversing the persistent poverty, which is truly a quagmire or predicament. If we do not increase access to quality higher education, the Caribbean will not survive. And I cannot put it more unequivocally than that. Our people, to be productive and resourceful while maintaining their dignity, must be empowered with high quality education. This is what makes the Open Campus and the UWI overall a powerful resource. And as Rex Nettleford said, our gift to ourselves. An annual report, therefore, that does not place the students at front and center misses the mark. I wish to spend some time on our students. Although there were reductions in applications over the period 2018 to 22, it is important to point out that the difference between 2018 and 2019 and 2021 and 2022 is not as bad as it might have been in light of the intervention of the COVID-19 pandemic. Hence, these application figures ought to be viewed through the lenses of potential applicants who were anxious about the future, who were losing relatives, many of whom may have well been the breadwinners, and who had lost their jobs. This slide here before you shows a wide range of a very exciting and interesting programs that are specifically tailored to Caribbean development in various sectors. There's nothing more delightful, ladies and gentlemen, I want to pause it, and uplifting than witnessing all of these Caribbean citizens from various walks of life, realizing their dreams, their hopes, their aspirations. It is priceless when you see people you know for a long time in your hamlets, towns, countrysides, cities who are single parents, who are struggling to make ends meet. And then you see what earning a high quality degree has done for them. The Open Campus has made the light shine in the worlds of many people. And this has been happening since 1948, good our chair, with its predecessors like Aubrey Douglas Smith in Barbados and Frederick Case in the Leeward Islands. These graduates who have not had to leave their homes are living testimony to the fact that the Open Campus has extended the reach of the university of the West Indies, way beyond Port of Spain, Kingston and Bridgetown, into Inter Alia, San Fernando, Mayaro, and Laventille in Trinidad and Tobago, May Pen, Morant Bay, and Bronxtown in Jamaica. And I'm just citing a few examples. The Pine in Barbados, Windward in Carriacou, Madiz in St. Patrick, and Soubise in St. Andrew, Grenada, Belmopan, Cayo, and Orange Walk in Belize, Sadler's Village and West Farm in St. Kitts, and Newcastle and Brownhill in Nevis, Soufriere and Vieux-Fort in St. Lucia, Old Road, Newfield, Cedar Villa, Cedar Grove, Villa, Point and Yorks in Antigua and Barbuda, the Grenadines, and Sandy Bay, and other areas north of the Dry River in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Maho, Marigot, Petit Savan, and Kalinago country in Dominica, the various frontiers we have pushed in the British overseas territories, to name just a few places. These are all Caribbean citizens, my friends. This is a movement or juggernaut that started since 1948. Do you know there were resident tutors and university representatives in Belize, formerly British Honduras, and Trinidad and Tobago since 1949? Or since 1960 in Dominica and St. Lucia? Or since 1965 in Antigua, for instance, Dr. Idris Bird? This has never been about extending the reach of the open campus only, or its precursors. More fundamentally, we saw ourselves as extending the reach of the one UWI long before the concept was formulated. We will not allow this tradition to wither away. In ruminating over the actual registration figures for the Senate-approved online programs, it is also quite possible to posit that overall, we emerged better than we might have imagined, given the widespread impact of COVID-19. That said, the appetite for access to quality education persists, and the prospect of our global campus holds much promise. In that regard, I draw your attention to what looks like a reassuring trend in graduate registration on this slide. The 2021 to 22 registration is 7% over the 2018 to 19 period in graduate programs, and 2% over the 2020 to 21 timeframe. The total figures for undergraduate and postgraduate show a slight decline of 1% between 21 to 22 and 20 to 21. In 2021 to 22, these percentages represent, in raw numbers, the pie chart you see on your screen, graduates, the graduate programs, 1,121, undergraduate, 5,538, to make a total of 6,659. We can agree that this is a promising ratio of undergraduate to graduate numbers in the open campus. Most popular programs remains the Bachelor of Science degree, as you can see on your screen, which represents 64% of all programs, nigh on 2/3. The gender imbalance holds strong at the open campus. And these percentages represent the following figures: male, 1,175, female, 5,484, to make a total of 6,659. This trend is a UE-wide one, and I dare say a global one, certainly with the parts of the world with whom we make comparisons. This bar chart is instructive. We see that the millennials born between 1981 to 1996, ages 27 to 42 roughly, preponderate, and together made up almost 2/3 of the enrolled students in the relevant period. The majority bunch between the ages of 25 to 34. This is interesting since among the common characteristics of millennials are, and this is instructive, this is very interesting, they are technology natives. Millennials grow up with technology, that is laptops, desktop computers, or smartphones. They crave work-life balance. The ability to remain with family while studying would captivate them. They expect collaboration, which is a very common pedagogical aspect of the Open Campus's education online. They want to keep on learning. Here again, it is no surprise that they preponderate. So it is textbook perfect. What we call the Generation Z was strong at 24%, 1/4 of enrolled students. In raw figures, therefore, 24 and under, 1,598, the Gen Z. 25 to 34, millennials, 2,672 were the majority bunch. 35 to 44, also millennials, 1,701. 45 to 54, 593. 55 and over, 95. A grand total, 6,659. It is delightful, colleagues, to see the number of 55-year-olds and over who are enrolled. Now, this table, which displays enrollment by country of residence, is another instructive one. Why? We have challenged the problem of distance and brought education to the villages, the towns, hamlets, and countrysides outside the traditional or original campus countries of Barbados, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago. While Jamaica represents 18% and Trinidad and Tobago edges it out by almost 2%, standing at approximately 20%, we see countries in the Eastern Caribbean, what the Minister of Education in Grenada called the Eastern Bloc, like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, 11.25%, St. Lucia, 10.38%, Grenada, 6.55%, and Dominica, 5.57%. The Windward Islands, which I have just encapsulated here, showing enrollment disproportionate to the respective populations. Witness St. Kitts and Nevis at almost 5%. Note that in Barbados, we tend to focus on continuing and professional education programs to empower the underserved. The Director Ox will speak to these programs in more detail during his presentation. Verily, I say to you, we have taken very seriously Rex Nettleford's charge to us of overcoming the tyranny of distance that is the geographical reality of the Caribbean. The Eastern Bloc is growing well, and the promising Guyana connection begins to fulfill the mission of going south. This table here is a record of our virtual international student registration. And these figures represent students from Guyana, St. Martin, Suriname, Canada, USA, Botswana, Ghana, Great Britain, Mexico, and Uganda. A word on the Guild executive during the relevant period. On August 19th, 2021, the Regional Guild of Students Executive held their second virtual induction ceremony. Mr. Norris Artwell was elected as the Guild president. The induction was followed by a virtual retreat in October 2021. And this slide depicts the student government of 21 to 22. I take this opportunity as a principal of the Open Campus to extend our deep appreciation to them for working with us through difficult times and indeed for their patience. It was a remarkable period of collaboration between the administration and the Guild executive, which has continued apace. The annual Guild and Council's grant was offered in semester 2 of 21-22, and that amount totaled US $34,104. The table above shows the breakdown of the allocations. At the chapter level, the Guild continued with the hosting of most activities virtually due to the COVID-19 protocols that were still in place. Noteworthy activities included the annual Guild Fest and several virtual games nights. And this slide depicts some of the student-centric initiatives. Now, 27 scholarships were awarded in 21-22. We are grateful to our friends and benefactors. We cannot thank them enough on behalf of our students, especially in light of the very difficult and severe financial circumstances which many of our students face on a daily basis. This slide here offers some statistics concerning the class of 2022. You will note the similarity in the gender balance or imbalance between registration, which you saw earlier in my presentation, and graduates. And this is logical in light of the reality of the male-female participation at the open campus and indeed at the UWI. This table reiterates that the top programs for the award of undergraduate qualifications is the degree of Bachelor of Science. There is no surprise here in light of what we saw earlier. The award of first-class honors at 42% of all class of honors is in fact quite momentous, as this slide will depict. The Merit Award class was awarded for the first time due to the implementation of the graduate GPA system and the introduction of the Merit Award category. The campus graduated 23 postgraduate diploma students with this class of award, Merit. The distinctions making up about 41% of the awards is also very impressive and closely mirrors what we saw for the undergraduate awards. And this pie chart graphically portrays the gender disparity that I spoke about just now. And this graph, it further reiterates and points out, the earlier matter of the popularity of the Bachelor of Science degree. You can see it here well placed, the second being the Master of Science. This is a slight variation, but generally shows some trends regarding, or the same trends regarding registration by country and graduates by country. If one ponders or ruminates over the mere figures, ladies and gentlemen, and considers the multiplier effects of these graduates engaged in their respective jurisdiction, one may even more fully appreciate the positive returns or externalities of these graduates to their countries, especially the small states. Do not discount for a moment the impact of this on countries in the Leeward and Windward Islands, or indeed in what we call the OECS. This is not a yesterday or today phenomenon, as I emphasized earlier, and as our chair emphasized. This has been a consistent impact of the open campus and its predecessors on those people who were too distant from the brick and mortar campuses. I am not a visitor to the Eastern Caribbean, nor is our campus council chair. So we are speaking from absolute experience, being on the ground and interfacing with people in the Eastern Caribbean. The 2021-22 graduation ceremony, a virtual production, was hosted on Saturday, October 15th, 2022. The grand production was presented via UWI TV, and I want to, pause. I beg leave to actually thank Janet Carew and the team for their continuing service to the UWI, but to the world. Very important, what they do. For the academic year 21-22, 1,059 students completed their programs of study. Of this number, 701 graduates were presented as follows: 550 undergraduates, 151 postgraduates. And this was an approximate increase of 10.9% over the previous year, where 632 graduates participated and presented or represented a record number of graduates who participated in the Open Campus's 2022 virtual graduation ceremony. Although this was a marginal increase of 69 graduates over the 21 virtual ceremony, the virtual graduation ceremonies may be perceived as more popular among our graduates, since over the years, a maximum of approximately 250 graduates in any given year were presented at the face-to-face ceremonies. This is important data for us, as it reiterates the matter of affordability for our graduates. And so the virtual ceremony is a way of leaving no one behind. And this is just a snapshot of our graduates who is celebrated. Our valedictorian, UD John. And UD John is a senior sports development officer in Ministry of Sports, Culture and Community Development in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Father of three and husband, UD finds time to balance work, community, and family life. And I say that in particular to underscore the boon or the benefit of the open campus to these people. UD John is from Boitica, which is a small village in the southeast of Dominica. The open campus, ladies and gentlemen, met UD where he was, the underserved community of Boitica. He did not have to travel to Kingston or Bridgetown or Port of Spain. These are the people we reach. And any unfriendly disposition towards the open campus is an unfriendly disposition to these people who have been touched and empowered by the reach of the open campus and its predecessors, the School of Continuing Studies, distance education, and whatnot. These are the valedictorian candidates, those who made it to the candidates for valedictorian. We thought we should show them. These are our Let's Talk Access champions who participated in our graduate edition sessions to highlight the open campus journey. And Jamie Costello, for instance, who you see is one of the folks on the slide. He says, "My program chose me. My program chose me." The UWI Open Campus met him. The mountain went to Jamie. I wanted to further develop myself and get better qualified to be able to take a leadership role within my current organization. So I decided to pursue my master's degree, as it was something that I wanted to do for many years. While searching for schools that were offering quality online master's degrees, I came across UWI's offering of the MSc in management with the option in management information systems. And listen to what Marco Scantleberry says. "I was searching for a postgraduate program for quite a while, and I discovered this one at the open campus. One of the main reasons why I chose the open campus, and let's underscore that, is the flexibility of studying, the nimbleness, to use our chair's term, on my own time and not being inconvenienced with traffic or having to ask for time off from work." Colleagues, you cannot beat this, and this cannot be cast aside. This is a movement, a juggernaut in the region that we must allow, that we must continue to grow, encourage, and allow to flourish for the sake of our region and posterity. During the virtual graduation ceremony, the UWI conferred 2 honorary Doctor of Laws, UWI, but at the open campus ceremonies on distinguished Caribbean citizens, Dr. Cleopatra Doumbia Henry, a Dominican, for her contribution to international law, and the Honorable Sir Hugh Rawlins, a petition for his contribution to law and the judiciary. Colleagues, I want to say something about our student experience unit. We understand that we are going global And the global market will not be as forgiving and understanding as a regional market. Our standards and service must be high consistently, both for the region and internationally. There's no apartheid about that, but we have to be very cognizant of this. Consistent with the modern approach to keeping the learner central to the education experience, the primary focus of the SEU, set up in 21-22 academic year, is a continuous review of our processes and procedures from the viewpoint of the online distance learner client, with the aim of developing a more intuitive and robust response to their distinctive needs. The Open Campus views this unit as absolutely fundamental in demonstrating the type of behavior, emotional intelligence skills, and culture that the Open Campus should embrace in treating with its regional and global students. In the first year of its existence, the Student Experience Unit received a total of 202 student cases. During that academic year, 163 of those cases were fully resolved, while 39 were still pending completion by the end of July 31st, by the end of the academic year, July 31st, 2022. As the pie chart reflects, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the vast majority of the cases were related to finance matters, particularly holds on accounts and adjustments to account balances. And that's why we're so grateful when the students receive assistance and scholarships. The other categories of cases that were submitted to the unit included program advising and course coordinator tutor issues, CPE matters, registry matters, inclusive of leave of absence required to withdraw, honor roll letters, exemptions, and so on, all displayed on the slide. It is noteworthy that over the 3 semesters, some students reach out to the SEU for multiple matters because of the initial positive experience with the unit. And I want to emphasize, colleagues, that this is not only about the student experience, but it is doing research on the student experience so that it can inform the relevant departments and inform the Open Campus. We take the student experience very seriously, and this department, I have to say, has to become endemic and has to pervade the entire Open Campus. And I dare say, indeed, the University of the West Indies. The student experience, very important. Happy students become good alumni, happy alumni, and giving alumni. And as noted in the previous slide, departments have collaborated with the SEU through redirecting, submitting cases to the unit for additional investigation and assistance with accelerating pending matters. However, there have also been distinct and deliberate initiatives which allowed the SEU to collaborate with colleagues on common initiatives or solutions to identified issues. And we have done this. We have had at the SEU an initiative which encompassed the design of staff sensitization sessions on student experience in collaboration with our director, CSDR, Mrs. Cecile Minot, who is a counselor. And the intention was to enable staff to reflect in homogeneous groups on their perceptions of and the nature of their own communications with the students we serve. So pilot sessions were held with key groups, culture stewards, and quality champions, and the intention was that these integral groups could go on to facilitate, among other staff groups, similar self-reflection. So we want the student experience, sensibility, and motive to pervade the entire Open Campus. Along with its primary investigative and critical review remit, the SEU places emphasis on making our student clientele feel heard, seen, appreciated, and valued. And overall, and some of it is displayed on the screen, informal feedback from students and site staff to the new unit's presence and activities has been very positive, very uplifting, with students indicating that they feel heard and staff stating that matters often brushed under the carpet were being opened up for discussion and action. And we're very proud of that accomplishment. When we serve our students well, we have accomplished and achieved a lot. And that was one of our highlights of the 2021-22 period. The First Year Experience Program aims to develop and implement a coordinated approach to the first year experience. And this is achieved by creating learning communities while using information and communication technologies that connect first year students to academic and student development support services. And these webinars will help to assist students to effectively manage their learning in online environment so they don't feel alone. The Continuing and Professional Education Center, which operates under my office, coordinated and implemented several key activities as outputs from the UWI Open Campus Reaccreditation Plan. Now, among those included early childhood CPE program self-assessment review and conferences, workshops, and webinars, guidelines, and templates. You'll hear a little more about CPE from the Director Ox when he presents. We are an activist university. We're an activist campus. And in order to support alumni kinship and loyalty, the Open Campus alumni responded to requests from students for financial assistance through scholarships and donations. In addition, the alumni assisted and supported the campus through various programs designed to enhance the student experience. The Alumni Association utilized the methods displayed on the slide to maintain relevant and value-added relationships. The UWI STAT ambassadors were commissioned to work closely with students throughout their sojourn, and several cases of students in dire need of financial and emotional assistance were referred to the campus officer of alumni relations, Mrs. Sandra Griffith Carrington. The response from the UWI Open Campus UWI STAT executive to a student who lost all her possessions by fire is noteworthy. And you can see that depicted the handing of a Lenovo computer in the slide here. And this, of course, are some of the initiatives that we are very proud of when, again, we can relieve our students. Global giving, very much a part of that as the Open Campus. The alumni responded favorably to the Global Giving Week initiative, which was started in August 2016 and worked with the patrons to host fundraising events resulting in scholarships. And special mention must be made of the UWI AA St. Kitts and Nevis chapter under the leadership of Jehan Williams, chapter president, the patronage of the former Governor General of St. Kitts and Nevis, Sir S.W. Tapley Sitton. Now, yes. So this chapter promotes global giving as their signature event, and therefore hosted another successful global giving event, capturing the prize for another year for raising most funds. The Belize chapter established its first flagship initiative, the Pelican Saturday Market. The market is held every other month and creates a space for alumni and Belizean entrepreneurs to showcase their products and services. Quite an entrepreneurial and innovative idea. The first market was held in June 2022, where 15 vendors participated. The Pelican Saturday Market includes a component where vendors are asked to contribute 5% of the profits made from the market day to the UWI Global Giving. There is another very important and fundamental initiative which we are proud of. The Preparing Today for Tomorrow's Challenges, and that continues to transform the lives of returning faith formers in Barbados. And this outreach program had its nativity or genesis at the LSE school in 2016 and is now with 7 secondary schools. And I think it was the brainchild of the then principal of the Ellerslie School. Now, we're very cognizant that many youth, while possessing some strong academic qualifications, lack necessary social skills needed to function in the working environment and at the tertiary level. And so that program is meant to address this in particular. The program was designed to enrich the lives of these students by preparing them for life after school, as the name implies, as well as assisting them in their job search. So when the principal and the teachers of the Ellerslie School were considering someone to facilitate, they chose Mrs. Sandra Griffith Carrington, who at the time was our marketing and communications officer. She's now our campus officer for alumni relations. So topics such as effective communication, preparing yourself properly, dealing with difficult people, etiquette, wardrobe management, interview process, personal financial matters, all of these are part of what we do with the students. You see me here with Mr. Avad. Well, Avad McLean is the sponsor, and I mean, we really are thankful to her for coming to Barbados and seeing the need and sponsoring that program. And I am here with her, along with Mr. Sandra Griffith Carrington and Mr. Malek Zagal, General Manager of Barbados Beach Club, where they have employed, I believe, 8 or thereabouts of the students, of the graduates of this program. And he's very pleased with it and wants to continue it. This is what you call social activism with the private sector. And we're doing that to improve the lives of our citizens. We are very pleased and proud with the trajectory of this particular initiative. At the Open Campus Strategic Plan and Revenue Revolution Initiatives meeting of September 29th, 2022, the EON XR project for the adoption of digital learning using augmented reality and virtual reality technologies was selected as one of the 3 fundamental initiatives for the Open Campus for the 2022-27 period. Now, the UEverse unit was formed in May 2022 in the Open Campus to coordinate the activities of this EON XR project. The primary objective to seek grant funding to establish an extended reality center for the campus. The secondary objective of this was to develop a business plan for the center's activities in extended reality with internal and external plans that would contribute new revenue streams for the campus. So a number of grant funding activities are in train, and I want to thank our head of that unit, Karen Roseman, and of course, our indefatigable director, CSDR, Cecil Minot, for the role that they have played, taken the EON reality, which was a bit of a nebulous sort of construct, into operational and practical sphere where we look forward to it as an income stream, but also improving pedagogy and other aspects for the university and for the region. We were very pleased last year with our Open Campus Endowment Fund. One of the major highlights for the academic year was this mediathon, social mediathon. It was held on Saturday, July 30th, 2022, under the distinguished patronage of His Excellency Sir Rodney Williams, Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda, and Her Excellency the Most Honorable Dame Sandra Mason, President of Barbados. Now, the funds from the event goes towards the UE Open Endowment Fund, which was launched in the 2020-21 academic year. And this was a result of the many heart-wrenching stories and requests for assistance received. Now, the UWI Open Endowment Fund allowed many deserving students to complete their degrees by providing scholarships to talented yet needy students from across the region, as well as grants for developmental projects for the open campus. And this event indeed was really strong and powerful evidence of the theme of the year, UWI alums stronger together, and it emphasized the cohesiveness of the UWI. The event was broadcast live by UWI TV, and the artists were drawn from students and alumni all over the Caribbean. It was an evening to remember, colleagues, and included performances from Michael Henderson from Dominica, and of course, Red Plastic Bag and Mighty Gabi, whom I think you very well know, among others. At the time of reporting, over US 20,000 is in the endowment fund. In terms of fostering creative, caring, accountable, motivated professional team, we have tried to do a lot of that. HR continues to find creative ways to provide staff with access to training in areas considered critical to the mission of the campus and university, and at no cost to the campus. Staff training gained momentum in academic year 21-22 through the delivery of a series of webinars and online skill interventions on a myriad of areas suited for the contemporary workplace. So there were a number of workshops: risk management, health and safety, records management, and so on. And furthermore, as the campus navigates the period of transition to the global campus, the HR unit will work towards providing psychosocial support in the areas of change management, financial literacy, planning, and wellness. Some scholarship programs: open campus scholarships for ATSS staff were first introduced in 2016. For the 21-22 academic year, a total of 10 open campus scholarships were awarded to our ATS staff. In addition, the Open Campus APAD, Academic Program and Delivery Division, scholarship was introduced in 2021, with 3 Open Campus APAD scholarships awarded for the academic year 22-23. This scholarship is geared towards developing permanent members of staff who are committed to a career path within the APAD division, specifically as curriculum development specialists. Overall, these scholarships, ladies and gentlemen, are geared towards providing staff members with the opportunity to pursue higher education opportunities at the bachelor's or master's degree, the financial assistance of the campus. And staff who receive these are doing well, very grateful, but we see that as a token. We wish we could do a lot more, and we will do a lot more in the future. But these are hardworking staff and very well deserving. Culture Stewards Committee. The Culture Stewards Committee falls under the scope of the campus principal, who is responsible for advocating, championing an open campus culture in alignment to the UWI core values of integrity, excellence, gender justice, diversity, and student-centeredness. In September 2021, a group of culture stewards formed a subcommittee aimed at featuring and promoting these UWI core values to the campus community through a monthly publication called our CV, and a play on the words, core value. And 8 issues were published over the year. Publications including staff, students, and alumni sharing their perspective on each core value. Tips, quotes, puzzles, reflections, reminders, and other content. So our CV seeks to enhance our consciousness as a campus of the core values within our campus and university community. During the current academic year, the committee will highlight the remaining 2 core values of diversity, very important as we move inexorably towards global, and student-centeredness, again, a very important value. And you heard me about the student experience unit. And the next slide really shows two examples of our beautiful publications, which we circulate widely and staff have an opportunity to read. And this slide provides some statistics concerning our website and social media presence. Very interesting stuff here. And of course, you know, we are in the midst of our very exciting 75th anniversary, and the boon of the Open Campus, its distribution means that there's going to be a kaleidoscope of activities throughout. And some of that you can view on the screen before you. The campus registrar has shared the webpage for the Open Campus UWI 75th anniversary. That was done on March 15th, and the webpage will cover all activities across the campus during the year-long celebration. So indeed, we are rooted, ready, and rising. I now have, colleagues, the pleasure of turning over to the colleagues who will take you through their respective divisional reports for the academic year 21-22. This will give you an essence, a sensibility of the strength of the academic, community service, ambassadorial, and outreach work of the Open Campus, not only for itself, but for the entire university. We take the One UWI spirit very seriously. We have remained faithful to the expectations of our forefathers like Rex Nettleford, who was the director of the School of Continuing Studies between 1971 and 1996, and Sir Philip Sherlock, first director of the then extramural department. And we have built upon the foundations which they have laid. I now hand you over to our Deputy Principal, Dr. Emily Dickford.
Thank you, Principal Severin. Good morning, Campus Council Chair, Vice Chancellor, members, colleagues, staff of the Open Campus, media personnel, and our viewing public. This report covers my oversight as Deputy Principal acting for the academic year 2021-2022. I invite you to view the slides as I provide a brief overview in the interest of time. For the reporting period, the Office of the Deputy Principal had oversight for 4 units: the Prior Learning Assessment Unit, the Enterprise Resource Planning Unit, the Business Development Unit, and we serve as liaison for the Quality Assurance Unit, which is a university center function. The Office of the Deputy Principal provides critical support to the Office of the Principal for the effective leadership of the 5 key strategic initiatives and the management of the day-to-day affairs of the campus. This includes serving as chair of several campus committees and representing the campus on select university committees. In these roles, I was supported by a competent team of 3 persons who should be on your screen now, who reside in 3 different nations served by the Open Campus. St. Vincent, we have Ronnie, Barbados, Andrea, and in Belize, Libby. I move now to new initiatives in the Office of the Deputy Principal. We contributed to the development of a massive open online course titled A Just Transition to a Low Carbon Society, and this is for delivery to the world on the FutureLearn platform. In the reporting year, we also advanced to writing the content and creation of the videos for that massive open online course, and I can report that in January this year, the course was launched for worldwide participants. Last year, we reported on the grant received from the Open Society Foundations linked to my work with the UWI's Global Institute for Climate Smart and Resilient Development. I am pleased to report that the work has advanced for the creation, launch, and ongoing activity of a climate literacy hub seeking to support educators, learners, and regional citizens about climate change, sustainable development, and climate justice, among other related topics. The next slide captures the work of the Open Campus Research Ethics Committee, where I served as the chair of the Research Ethics Committee, and Mrs. Libby Martinez in the office of the Deputy Principal serves as the administrator for the committee. And you would note that we continue to support the production of quality research from our staff and students. The next slide provides a snapshot of publications and presentations from members of the Office of the Deputy Principal. We turn now to the Enterprise Resource Planning Unit, which serves to ensure functional business processes in this campus in the cross-campus model, and provided significant support to the banner functionality with our computer and technology team for the Five Islands campus. The team in the ERP unit go beyond their professional duties. So Principal, you can advance the slides. They go beyond their professional duties to serve their communities as seen by their social responsibility activities. Next up is our Business Development Unit, which provides procedural support to divisions and units in the campus with our revenue-generating projects. On screen, we have captured some of the BDU's work, the Business Development Unit's work, which they initiated, as well as their personal continuing education to enhance their skills. I turn now to the Prior Learning Assessment Unit, which has the remit to diversify the several access methods used by the university and the campus. More work is being done with this unit and with the whole notion of access, and we look forward to reporting further on that. And finally, our Quality Assurance Unit continues to serve us well as we focus on improving the quality of teaching, learning, and student development. Our Quality Assurance Officer, Dr. Pamela Dutton, continues her scholarly activities on the next slide with peer-reviewed publications and conference presentations. Thank you for listening. I hand over to Mr. Ryan Bayer to deliver on the Open Campus country sites.
Thank you very much, Deputy Principal, Campus Council Chair, Vice Chancellor, members, colleagues, media, and the viewing public. Good morning to all. It gives me great pleasure to provide a synopsis of the work done within the Ox Division over the last for this reporting period. The work of the division is aligned to the strategic pillars of the strategic plan: access, alignment, and agility. And the main strategies that we employ are viewed on the screen, main areas being teaching and learning, policy development and operational efficiency, improving the financial health, community and outreach, stakeholder engagement. And in this stakeholder engagement, we speak, of course, to the ambassadorial role and the representation that the Open Campus plays, not only for the Open Campus itself, but for the wider University of the West Indies in the respective jurisdictions. This presentation, due to time constraint, is just going to provide a snapshot of what occurs or has occurred within the division over the past years. And as our principal alluded to earlier, when we speak to the division, we're speaking about the 17 countries that are represented within the Open Campus and the 42 country sites. While these sites, from the perspective of access and teaching and learning, I'm going to the next slide. While there's focus on the Senate-approved programs, a lot of emphasis within our sites is within the area of continuing and professional education, where we embark on a number of CPE courses, workshops, and seminars. The slide presents some of the very popular offerings that we do within the sites: project management, supervisory management, to mention a few, but also it seeks to reflect the agility and responsiveness that occurs in sites in terms of some of the various workshops that respective sites will host based on partnerships, based on requests from various agencies. In terms of our target audiences for the continuing and professional educational programs, we have the public sector, the private sector, as well as individuals. And in terms of performance, as I transition to the next slide, we can look at the comparative analysis between this current the reporting period and the previous one, where we are seeing increases both in terms of revenue and enrollment. Again, these increases can be attributed to the interest by public and private sector organizations who come to the open campus for these courses and programs. In terms of performance, what I also want to highlight, though, in terms of personal and professional development, we often get testimonials from our learners who, having completed our programs, are able to speak to the career changes they've been able to make or the ability to gain a promotion based on the various courses that they have embarked upon. And I can speak to a few in terms of persons who pursue facilities management and procurement management. So in terms of the skills and competencies that these courses provide, they are indeed translating to the overall development of persons, which of course speaks to our mission. In terms of our next slide, the other area of focus in terms of improving the financial health, what we've also done within the division, and this is part of our resource mobilization strategy, where we form partnerships with various, and these partnerships are external and internal. When I say internal, it is not just the country sites that may drive these resource mobilization efforts. They may also occur with other divisions within the campus. As part of this resource mobilization strategy, we've been able to partner with a number of organizations across some of the countries. And as I'm alluding to here, this is just a snapshot. So I'm highlighted Antigua, Belize, Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis, for example. But this alone does not, this doesn't just speak to, there are other, and I'm just highlighting a few. So this is part of the resource mobilization strategy that we've employed towards the financial health, but also what we're doing in terms of improving the financial health. On the one level, while we are focusing on the revenue generation, and this is on the next slide, we also are paying attention to cost containment measures, where we're looking at our security costs. And we've also embarked on an exercise in terms of site rationalization, in terms of improving our operational efficiency. Moving to the next slide, our other area of focus within our sites, of course, speaks to our community and outreach activities. This is manifested in terms of the various country conferences and other seminars that are hosted. On the slide, I'm highlighting one that was held in 2022 March at the St. Vincent and Grenadine site. I'm highlighting this site because this is our newest site, having been relocated to a new location. So that's why we're highlighting this one. And then the other slide also speaks to some of the other community and outreach work that we've embarked upon. So this is so on this slide, it is also showing some of the activism and public policy and public advocacy that we are also doing in some of the other territories. While we focus a lot on the external aspects of work, we understand that the operational efficiency in terms of camp and our staffing, we need to pay attention to our policies and procedures. We are cognizant that a healthy and safe environment is critical for not only staff, but also our students and other stakeholders. So the sites have been placing much emphasis in terms of matters pertaining to operational efficiency. And on our next slide, where we speak to the research that is ongoing, Our substantive head of site in Grenada, Dr. Philip Dow, who is now serving as the acting deputy director, spearheaded a project in Grenada in terms of a junior history text for schools within Grenada. But she also spearheaded some research in terms of the legacy of slavery in Grenada in terms of a BBC documentary. This work has gone even further, which we will be able, I'm sure you've heard of it, but we'll be able to report on it in our next reporting period, where the family, the Trevelyan family, has been able to visit from the United Kingdom. They've visited Grenada, they've issued an apology, and they've also made a significant donation to the Ox Grenada. So this is the summary of the work being done that was done within the division. It would be remiss of me not to thank the heads of site and the staff for the unswerving support and effort in contributing to the achievements of the division. I wish to thank them. It now gives me great pleasure to invite Dr. Glenda Gay, Director APAD, to present on her division. Thank you.
Thank you, Campus Council Chair, colleagues, and the viewing audience. Warm greetings to all. The Academic Programming and Delivery Division of the Open Campus aligns with its UWI counterparts in offering high-quality online teaching and learning experiences, not only to students within and beyond our region, but also to many stakeholders. The next slide shows that in expanding our access, the division conducted workshops and courses over the past year. Indeed, we highlight the courses in greenhouse gas inventory and quality assurance, quality control, and a plant quarantine basics course, which were conducted during the first half of 2022. During the same time, January to June 2022, the next slide also shares that the division prepared self-assessment reports for our early childhood programs. We also conducted reviews of the Teaching and Learning with Emerging Technologies graduate program and added an oral component to the foundation course in English for academic purposes. Furthermore, the division began the process of infusing augmented and virtual reality in its course materials. In the latter half of 2022, the next slide provides our reviews and revision of the teaching model of undergraduate programs. This addressed any pedagogical deficits noted during course delivery and the inclusion of new and emerging technologies. Finally, in January this year, we received approval for the creation of a virtual center of excellence in teaching and learning, and join our sister campuses to better provide high-quality best practices in teaching and learning in multiple modalities and professional development certification for academic staff. I thank you and now hand over to Professor Julie Meeks, Director of Graduate Studies and Research.
And thanks to you, Dr. Gay. First, I would like to thank Dr. Denise Gaspard-Richards. Dr. Gaspard-Richards acted as Director for Graduate Studies and Research during the academic year we are reporting on, as I was on leave that year, and the accomplishments that I am going to describe were carried out under her watch. First, a subcommittee of the Campus Committee for Graduate Studies and Research, CCGSR, was formed. Previously, matters related to student issues were treated through the Academic Board Subcommittee on Student Matters, but now all graduate students have their own subcommittee. We had 2 new programs approved, both for the Guyana Online Academy of Learning, and both of these were in education. And as you just heard from the APAD report, we were also working on revisions and to the existing EdD programs in TLET. Next slide. The decisions of the Board for Graduate Studies were implemented as is our remit. And one of the decisions was to preclude research supervisors from being the examiners for their students. That amendment did lead to a number of backlogs and delays with our marking. And during the summer period, the Open Campus requested and was granted a waiver by the PVC. The backlog and delay led to several students complaining, but we're hoping that that has been put behind us, know that it has been waived. Next slide. Finally, I wanted to report that our Office of Graduate Studies and Research, which is functionally a part of the registry, has become much more involved in the selection of students, leading to a somewhat more careful match between student desires and what they are accepted to undertake. Across the university, all of us in the Graduate Studies and Research School have been working on the regulation review for graduate regulations, as well as updating regulations for the professional doctorates. We are also developing a self-paced online research supervisors development course. And you'll hear much more about that again in the next reporting period. Next slide. Thank you so much. And I now hand over to my colleague, Mrs. Cecile Minot, who is Director of the Consortium for Social Development and Research.
Thank you so much, Professor Meeks. Good morning, everyone. I would like to present you with a snapshot of the Consortium for Social Development and Research work that was done over the last academic year. And just to remind everybody, the CSDR is made up of 4 specialized units: the Caribbean Child Development Center, the Hugh Shearer Labor Studies Institute, the Social Work Training and Research Center, all based in Jamaica, and Women and Development, which is based in Barbados. I will take you through the activities of the division as it relates to the AAA strategy: access, agility, and alignment. Our first slide looks at access. As you can see, we were really busy over the last academic year. We delivered over 80 workshops, 5 webinars on the various topics relevant to industrial relations, labor studies, social work, grant writing, parenting, and gender, all areas which we have in our specialized units. The training activities were offered both face-to-face and online, with the online platform accounting for approximately 85% of our sessions. A number of online courses were developed in collaboration with public and private sectors across the region, including one, and I'd like to highlight this because this was also a collaboration with our Open Campus site, as mentioned by my colleague previously. We had one with the Grenada Social Transformation Ministry, the Open Campus site in Grenada, and we also had another project with the St. Martin government. So in access, we are wide. As you can see from our next slide, as we look at agility, CSDR was able to contribute to the financial wealth of the campus with some of our income-generating activities. We have a number of income-generating activities or projects or research activities, as well as we have facilities that we rent out for venues. And we were able to, as you can see, over $1.2 million despite COVID challenges. The division also wrote and submitted over 11 project proposals during the academic year. Our next slide will take you through some of our agility. We look at first our research. We have been engaged with internal and external stakeholders in the development and execution of research activities, projects, and also outreach activities. Over the academic year, we were able to have 11 research activities in progress. And we also were able to wrap up a few from our previous academic year. And I'd just like to mention 3. We had one on the socioeconomic impact assessment of abortion law reform in Barbados and St. Lucia. We also did an ILO labor inspection needs assessment for the Bahamas, Barbados, Guyana, St. Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago. We have just completed a rapid study on social work use of the ICT in client engagement during the COVID pandemic. And currently in Jamaica, we are doing a longitudinal study on transitional housing intervention in Jamaica. CSDR has been able to have a total of 5 peer-reviewed articles and 1 book chapter published with all that we do. We also have a number of projects that we were successful in starting and continues into this academic year. We have a mental health chat line that we are currently doing with UNICEF Jamaica and the Ministry of Health. It was launched in May 22, and actually at the end of last year, we were able to address over 1,000 cases, and we have 16 volunteers trained. We established a positive parenting support program in St. Martin with partnership with the UNICEF Netherlands and also with the St. Martin government. We have a Pink Parliament initiative which started in our previous academic year, and that continues. This is a 6-month empowerment and leadership training program for girls 14 to 20 years old. We also have a leadership institute in Belize, which is also targeting young women ages 18 to 25, building their capacity to and participate in democracy governance. CSDR not only do projects and research, but we have a number of outreach activities that we continue to do to help our communities. So we did a number of public forums, presentations, and lectures, regionally and internationally in our specialized area. We have served on a number of technical working groups and committees across the region and internationally. We also like to give back to our communities. And as you can see from our slide, we work with the young teenagers as well as our little ones. We've hosted children's treats. We've had a learning materials drive to support the primary and infant school. We had a virtual auction to help support our CPE students who were negatively impacted by the COVID pandemic. And our treats continue. But this is not possible without the sponsorship that we receive from our industry partners. Now, our next slide highlights one of the companies of the Open Campus, which is our early childhood center, Bloom. Bloom was reopened in September 2021, and we initially started with online classes, but now we're full forced face-to-face. We have approximately, during last academic year, we had to reduce our numbers. Although we have the capacity for 68 children, due to COVID protocols, we've had to stick with 44. We cater for children birth to 5 years old. We are based on the Mona campus, and we actually serve a number of Mona staff, students, and the surrounding communities. We're very proud of our company. On our next slide, as we look at some of the milestones that we have done, the Social Work Training and Research Center celebrated its 60th year of work in developing social workers and engagement in developing the scholarship and social work discourse around the region. We're quite proud of that. We had 3 staff members who were able to, first one, our head of WAND, was able to be awarded a tuition scholarship to participate in a women's leadership program, which was offered in the London Business School. And within CSDR, we welcome 2 of our staff members who was awarded their PhD in gender and development and sociology from the UWI. And we're quite proud of these accomplishments. We are a very small division, but we have been able to accomplish our goals for the academic year 2021. And I do thank the staff of the CSDR for everything that they have done. So now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Thank you all. Christian Lee, Acting CIO of the Computer and Technology Service Division.
Thank you very much, Cecile. Good morning, Campus Council Chair, VC, Principal, Deputy Principal, Registrar, fellow colleagues, distinguished guests, members of the media, staff, and students joining us online. As the Acting Chief Information Officer for the Computing and Technology Services Department, I would like to highlight the following areas of savings, additional revenue, expansion, and transformation. Next slide, please. So one thing I want to highlight is the CATS department is not necessarily a profit center, but more of a cost center. But with the skills and the dedication of staff that we have, collectively, we were able to save over $500,000 US annually through the following initiatives. The cloud migration that you see there, we migrated from our Miami data center to Amazon Web Services, AWS, saving us about US $180,000 annually. We also replaced all defective Cisco equipment and upgraded all Cisco software before expiry, saving us an additional $200,000 annually. We also audited and rationalized unnecessary telecom services across the region, saving us US $50,000 annually. And we also audited and rationalized enterprise applications into more cost-effective platforms. An example being our portal moving from Looking Glass to home-built system, saving us about $75,000 annually. So collectively, together, we've saved over $500,000 US annually. Next slide, please. We also did our part in generating additional revenue. And we did that through our partnership with the Five Islands campus, the provisioning of IT services, which generated about $100,000 US, consultancies with the enterprise applications team and the business development unit, that was about $10,000. We did technical support for the GOAL project, and we also provided financial technical services, support services to the financial team, which helped with the assistance of improving student collections. It's an ongoing process, but we, whatever tools we have, we provide to the finance in addition to everybody else to really help improve student support. The next slide, please. And the last one we will talk about is expanded online delivery. And we will talk about the continuing and professional education, the CPA. We built and supported the technology platform for 931 courses and 8,000 plus students. We also worked with the Guyana Online Academy of Learning, which is GOAL. We built and supported the technology platform for 107 courses and 100 students. And lastly, the cross-campus Moodle, the CCM. We built and supported the technology platform for 85 courses and 6,000 plus students. Next slide, please. And finally, for digital transformation, we improved operational efficiency and assisted with automating several processes, leading to improved turnaround time for many services, including time reduction for administration of CPE students. We also, for digital transformation, we also had Mr. Tommy Chen, who led the technology domain, where this is concerned for not only Open Campus, but for all of UWI. We also improved student digital access with funding provided by the Caribbean Development Bank, the CDB. We supported provisioning of ICT resources like laptops to disadvantaged students with the goal of decreasing the online learning gaps created by the COVID-19 pandemic. So collectively, with these four pillars, the CATS department did our part, or we tried our part to, help improve the efficiency of not only the department, but the campus and the university at large, where we used the enterprise applications team, the infrastructure team, the user support services team, security. We all came together to really do our part in helping push the university forward and make it a world-class organization. So with that, I end, and I now hand you over to Ms. Adele Merritt-Bernard of the Open Campus Libraries and Information Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. For the majority of the year under review, the Open Campus Libraries and Information Services Department, the OCLIS, was led by Mrs. Cheryl Peltier Davis, Senior Librarian Acting. In April 2023, Mrs. Peltier Davis proceeded on leave, and Mr. Selwyn Rodolfo was appointed to act in the position for a period of 3 months, April 2022 to June 2022. As of July 1st, Adele Merritt-Bernard was appointed to act for the remainder of the reporting period. The staff of the OCLIS continued delivery of orientation and information literacy services in online, face-to-face, and blended modalities to pre-university, undergraduate, and postgraduate students in support of teaching, learning, and research. We also offered our Ask a Librarian virtual reference services to the OC community via both live chat and email. And finally, we completed the Aleph implementation in the countrysides of Dominica, Grenada, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines in support of online services and access to library collections. To facilitate learning and research in the online environment, team members from the OX-TT libraries collaboratively engaged in the development of digital learning objects on themes which included navigation and use of special features of UWeLink, the library's online information portal, as well as citations and referencing, to name a few. The process of thesis scrutiny, a partnership with the Office of Graduate Studies and Research, by which projects are reviewed to certify compliance with the stipulated standards of the UE Thesis Guide and the current APA Style Manual, also continued throughout the year. A total of 60 research projects have been reviewed. We also continue to see steady growth in the OC's membership in UE Scholar, the online platform managed by the campus libraries to showcase the research and expertise of faculty and staff across the UE campuses, with a total of 57 persons added to the database for the period under review. In terms of camp, all OCLIS staff participated in a 2-part grant writing workshop during the period or during the months of April and May 2022. Designed to upgrade skills in this area, the sessions were practical in nature, aimed at strengthening the department's activities in seeking external funding for future initiatives in support of our teaching and learning activities. And finally, the OCLIS is represented on the Libraries and Archives stream of the UE Digital Transformation Program. Work continued to the final aspect of the discovery phase, focusing on data collection with respect to special collections and data libraries. Thank you for listening. I now hand over to my colleague, Dr. Akshay Mansingh of the Faculty of Sport.
Thank you very much. The Faculty of Sport and sport in general, in fact, faced its toughest year in history, probably in the middle of the COVID pandemic, which is the year in review. Nonetheless, as you'll see from this slide, we maintained our student enrollment and were able to get 191 students registered for our programs. Next slide, please. We were involved in a few presentations and had some publications. The faculties of law across all campuses were celebrating their 50th year, and we actually maintained a stream in their Faculty of Law conference on sport law, which went very well. Incidentally, please forgive me for not having on my video, but I'm trying to preserve bandwidth. Our columns in the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian, called Sports Matters, a fortnightly column, continue, and in fact are now being co-published by the Jamaica Gleaner as well. We had input from the Open Campus Academy of Sports in some articles, one of which was theoretical sport development versus practical sport development. And we also partook in the 2022 St. Lucia Physical Education and Sport Conference, where not only did we provide a paper, but we're also quite involved in its formation and presentation of the conference in general. The next slide will show you some of the collaborative outreach and strategic initiatives that we had. The Association of Netball Federations of North America has engaged us for 3 years running to hold workshops in capacity building leadership. This is a certificate course which has been delivered by the Faculty of Sport through the Open Campus Academy of Sport and has been very well received. In fact, under the period in review, though it was for the North American federations, Oceanic netball federations joined in at some ungodly hours to be part of our workshop as well and achieved the certification that was delivered. We further engaged the Trinidad and Tobago Netball Association in facilitating their strategic plan and development process. We'd engaged the ministries of sports and relevant personnel in Dominica and St. Lucia, discussing matters of sport development, policy, etc., and have gotten from both those countries indication that they want to advance those discussions and engage the academy in terms of writing the policy as well. There were further collaborations, as you can see there, but the two that I will highlight is the Pan Am Sports Organization Certificate in Sports Administrative Management. The Pan Am Sports Federation came out to us and has asked us to deliver this certificate program to the English-speaking members. It is something which we see as a great opportunity for the Open Campus Academy of Sport. The Spanish equivalent has already started its delivery, and the Spanish-speaking countries have started in that certificate program offered out through another university. But we have been charged with the English-speaking component and really are looking forward to getting this started in this academic year. We also partnered with the High Performance Center of the French Antilles called CREPS, which is in Guadeloupe, and had some grant funding from CREPS from the French government, which allowed us to look at the coaching academic needs of all coaches in the region. So we actually did a survey across the region, looking at the needs of coaches and the way that we can deliver it to them. We looked at their sport demographic and economic profiles, etc., and further held guest lectures in the programs at the Université des Antilles in Guadeloupe, of which Kervin Jean was one of the guest lecturers. This is also a collaboration that has continued with the French government and the Institute of Sport in France, and we will see some more about it in the next report next year. The next slide is basically to hand you back to the chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dean Mansingh. And of course, I take this opportunity to thank my colleagues for their thorough presentation, even within the constraints of the time. But you did get a good sensibility of how they have managed their affairs and the stewardship of their respective divisions over the 2021-22 academic year. I want now, colleagues, to sort of look ahead. And one can't look ahead and have a good sensibility of ahead if one doesn't appreciate the severe financial difficulties that we actually face. The Open Campus, of course, continued to be affected by the ongoing financial crisis, resulting in the buildup of outstanding obligations, a marginal increase in revenue generation, late payment of salaries and other obligations to creditors, and the suspension of several activities due to the lack of funding. I want to hasten to add that in spite of this, you have seen what we have accomplished because we believe in what we are doing. We have displayed, as you have seen, resilience. You hear the Vice Chancellor speak often about the leadership that the Open Campus has provided in light of its expertise in online. While other universities have shut down, we continued apace, and the Open Campus per se did not miss a day. And I thank our staff for this. This slide, of course, displays some of the positives in spite of course, the challenges. While the campus experienced over a reduction in its income streams, we have been making significant strides in reducing our non-payroll expenses as a result of stringent measures undertaken by the leadership of the campus. And so, colleagues, I want to address briefly a very important matter, that of right sizing, what I prefer to call optimal sizing. And it is the HR strategy, reform strategy, as we move apace. And let me be very clear and unequivocal. Right sizing is not witch hunting. It is not bereft of strategy and deep thought. It is not an inhumane act to punish non-performers. There is no hit list or slaying of staff. The restructure and the right sizing of the campus must and will proceed on the foundation of rethinking of our mission, our vision, and our purpose as a campus. It is the strategic review and restructure to prepare divisions and units for the roles we are to carry out as we proceed inexorably towards the global campus. We are about continuing education for those needing to be re-engaged in education. We are about enabling the masses with relevant skills development. The university has approved the global campus, the planned International School for Development Justice, and funding from the IDB. So right sizing involves rolling out the optimal and requisite restructure around the ways in which we are to support this as a foundation of the global campus. Our graduate studies and research unit, which you heard from, and the Office of the Campus Registrar, will need to be augmented and trained as a high-functioning team ready to enroll and orient international and regional learners of any age and gender. As I've said repeatedly, some areas will be cut, while other areas will be augmented and strengthened, all directed and guided by the strategic intent of the global campus. This is not about targeting people, it's about looking at positions and repurposing the open campus for greater things. The HR reform strategy implementation and funding of the implementation stage of the HR reform strategy is of primary importance, as any separation of a body of staff will necessitate satisfying the separation requirements stipulated in collective agreements for the respective category of staff, and the labor laws in respective jurisdictions. And you can imagine that the open campus is not easy to manage, because we are throughout and distributed throughout and cross several jurisdictional borders. And so we have to be very deliberate and cautious in how we proceed. And the absence of an established source of funding can have the effect of canceling out any recommendations and placing the global campus at risk, being saddled with financial affliction of its predecessor. And this is exactly what we want to avoid as we proceed. And there's a role for the Human Resource Department in that regard. And it has begun and continues apace. Meeting with key divisional and departmental heads, employees, student representatives, and other stakeholders to discuss a revised mandate for the open campus, which transitions to the global campus, reviewing all relevant documents or reports available on the institution, and identifying key issues. This is not being done in a silo. This is not being done locked away from other activities at the university. In fact, the university is in the period of its implementation of the governance report. And so our director, Ox, who you heard from, will guide as our liaison officer for the campus while we work side by side and in conjunction and collaboration with the governance report implementation committee. Because this is all about governance. We review the existing structures in keeping with the UWI statutes and ordinances. We will create an organizational structure that aligns the strategic mandate of the global campus with its open legacy divisions, identifying the processes that are no longer relevant or useful in the attainment of the campus's goal to become an efficient, agile, industry-aligned, and internationally accepted entity. We'll design and conduct relevant team coaching and leadership development workshops to provide leaders with the tools needed to update job descriptions and implement the recommendations for reorganization. We'll propose recommendations for a revised mandate for the divisions of the Open Campus in line with the global campus and the new incoming university strategic plan, Revenue Revolution. A revised structure and related staffing for the divisions and units in keeping with the revised mandate at one above. Additional administrative policies and operations manuals when necessary, flowing from the implementation of the relevant sections of the governance report, and identifying posts that are no longer necessary or have become superfluous, and a course of action for the campus to assist those impacted. Any right sizing must proceed on humane levels. In terms of specific deliverables as we see them, as we cite them going forward, identifying staffing and resource needs for the restructured and reorganized units, divisions, including optimal deployment of existing staff, identifying redundant positions, and making appropriate recommendations for displaced staff in accordance with local legislation and existing collective bargaining agreements. Reviewing roles for all positions, outline job descriptions, job specifications, and job profiles for the campuses, and preparing procedures and process maps for key areas relevant to the revised areas. Identifying key competencies to drive the success of the global campus and undertaking a gap analysis to ascertain proficiency levels of existing staff. Determining the cost of right sizing, that is, what will be the projected net savings in light of the separation costs or displacement of staff. So these are some of the key or specific deliverables that one can anticipate. And colleagues, of course, side by side with all of this process, of course, is the initiative of rebranding from Open to Global Campus. And the screen before you displays or depicts the trajectory of that. What I can say to you at this point is that a Global Campus rebranding and renaming committee has been set up within the Open Campus. And that committee, the rebranding renaming committee, is chaired by our campus registrar. Ultimately, of course, the Open Campus Executive Management Committee, we heard from this morning, will lead this exercise in close consultation and collaboration with the University Marketing and Communications, and of course, Director Rhonda Jaipal Ogaro. The renaming and rebranding exercise has several elements, but including in this would be the focus on the open campus restructuring and repositioning itself to transition into the UE Global. It is a complex and involved process that will happen alongside the day-to-day activities of the campus's operations. The right sizing and rebranding exercise will also run concurrently, as it is important to be transparent with the process. The exercise has to be done logically and sequentially to ensure that all levels of the process unfold strategically. And I just want to mention, as I come into land, the fact that we are in throes of an accreditation mid-cycle. Institutional accreditation is granted for a specific time span. And in the case of the Open Campus, in 2019, we got the maximum of 7 years. And the expectation, of course, was that every year annual reports would be submitted, which we do, to the accreditation agency. And midway, during the accreditation period, there will be a mid-cycle visit. This is what we're preparing for at this point in time. And that could take place in November. Colleagues, it is a very fundamental and important, critical period for the Open Campus. Lots of activities taking place at the same time. The slide before you shows a sort of a roadmap of what is to happen and what that process will involve. We're going to be very busy this year. And it is why I really want to thank our team 2021, 2022 for the work that they have done and you have seen. I want to thank them for their vote of confidence in me, as in that period of time, the interim principal of the Open Campus. I want to thank the Vice Chancellor also for his vote of confidence in me and vesting in me that great responsibility, which I dare say I had very little idea as to what it would entail, even having worked in the Open Campus for several years. But colleagues, when you believe in something, when you are vested in something, and our chair spoke about this book, Breaking Down the Walls, when you know that you're really standing on the shoulders of great people, Rex Nettleford, Philip Sherlock, and all those who have gone. You know, we just heard of the passing of Professor Howard Fergus in Montserrat. Dr. Beverly Steele passed away late last year. We cannot disappoint them. We have to forge ahead. So I want to thank my team. I also want to display to you the current Open Campus Executive Management Committee, which you're seeing on the screen, and you have heard from most of them today. The Open Campus Executive Management Committee expresses thanks to the university's management team, the leadership of the 4 other campuses, staff, students, and the Open Campus family for their continued support. And colleagues, in the circumstances, a huge thank you to our staff who continue to work for us and who believe in the mission of the Open Campus. Yes, we are breaking down walls. We've taken the campus and education beyond the ivory tower, and we are continuing lifelong learning. I thank you very much for your attention.
Ladies and gentlemen, I thank the Pro Vice Chancellor and Principal and his team for an informative and comprehensive report. It is now also my pleasure to invite the Vice Chancellor to make his comments on the campus, the Open Campus, as well as any other university issues he may wish to inform us of. I thank you. Vice Chancellor.
Thank you so very much, Madam Chair. Her Excellency, Dr. June Soomer, our distinguished ministers, governments, and their public sector workers who are with us inexorably year by year. All of my colleagues across the UB system who are part of this journey of the open campus. And of course, Dr. Severin, principal, and his team of dedicated, hardworking colleagues, and our students, graduates, members of the media. Very, very good day, everyone. Distinguished members of council, what we have just heard presented to us in the form of a report and the year in review by our principal is the most extraordinary document. It's an extraordinary presentation in the sense that the capacity to capture arguably one of the most difficult moments in the history of the open campus, this pandemic and post-pandemic exposure and commitment, having to deal with very disturbing financial scenarios and a complex fiscal environment, dealing with fundamentals, one of the most fundamental being the right to receive one's salary in good time, reflecting one's work and the contribution of labor, and that fundamental being shaken to the core. All of these matters were in the forefront of the consciousness of a principal who ultimately has responsibility to all of us to make sure that this circumstance is managed and managed critically with dignity. I can think of no other language to describe what our principal has done and how he has reported upon it, other than to say it is a demonstration of that ethical force that runs throughout Caribbean history. That ethical force that says, no matter what the circumstance, and we Caribbean people have been there. We have been as a people in the deepest end of hell, and we have survived, and we are forging forward into the future. And this requires a consciousness of understanding that is ultimately translated into commitment and dedication. This is what we've heard here this morning. A report that is intellectually sound, a report that is socially ethical, financially clear, and a humanity that is committed to our finest ideals. He could not have done all of this and appear before us to speak with confidence, but with humility, without the work and the support of his team. The Open Campus Management team and all of those who are in the vanguard of specific sectional activity have done this university proud. And within the sacrifice that there have been called upon, the patience they've been called upon to endure, this sacrifice is even the more welcome, because without it, and this is not hyperbolic, without it, our university could have faced an existential threat. Instead, what we were faced with is a collection of colleagues, an institution that rolled up its sleeves, got out there, and got on with it. This is extraordinary. And I'm looking forward to that moment in the future when we shall put this history behind us, and then we shall look at ways and means to say to the open campus, here is a tangible form of recognition of what you have done for this university. We know that the open campus represents at the highest level that democratic demonstration of the UWI's vision. Embedded, rooted in communities, and cultivating our citizens for the future. In the year in review, the significant issues of pandemic management fell upon the open campus in a unique and special way. We have reported on several occasions that this university as a whole was blessed to have had an open campus that in one of its darkest hours called upon that institution to illuminate the way forward. And that campus rose to the occasion. It assisted all of our sister campuses, the landed campuses, to make that complete transition to distant online learning. The university is not accustomed to blowing its own trumpet, but from time to time it probably should. This University of the West Indies demonstrated to the world how to maintain teaching and learning and student support with efficiency and effective engagements. This UWI became one of the world's best examples of how to manage a pandemic. We did not close our doors on our students. We did not send home our students. We did not say to them, well, come back in 6 months' time when we have a handle on this. Many universities in the world closed their gates. Many universities suspended their programs. And these were universities far more financially resourced than UWI has ever been. But we strategized, and with the primary help of the open campus, we were able to see 2 cohorts of students through their programs, through to graduations, through to celebration with their families. This ought to find its way into the annals of history as an example of what this university is capable of doing. In fact, I can say that all of UE became an open campus. All of UE in those 2 difficult years became an open campus. And we were doing that, knowing quite well that our 75th anniversary was just a step away. And how could we look into the immediate future with 75 years of service if we were found to be in disarray, if we were found to be in retreat from a fundamental public health challenge? No. This university did what it should have done and did it well. And here we are now in our 75th year, and we can now look back with pride. We can look back with no sense of shame. We can look back with no sense of deficiency and ineffectiveness. But instead, we can look back and say we rose to the challenge and took care of our students best we could. There are 2 consequences in all of this. One consequence is that here we are in our 75th year, and the reputation of this university has never been greater. The international visibility of our university has never been higher. This university is in a place today, after 75 years of service, to speak to intergenerational leadership, intergenerational solidarity. Decade by decade, consistent and persistent support from our stakeholder governments who expected of us effective and visionary leadership. Yes, this is what our stakeholder governments who invest in this university, this is what they have come to expect of us. And so we believe that we have honored our commitments and we have demonstrated our capacities, and our university today is in a very good place indeed. But as you've heard from Principal Severin, this open campus is faced with significant financial difficulties, most of them not of their own making, but embedded in the fiscal crisis that faces our region. Significant receivables owing by our governments. And allow me to say this at this time. I have been a part of the financial decision-making of this university for many decades. And there is one thing I know, that over the decades, when our governments are of the opinion that they have some financial space and they have some additional surplus resources, they have always shared those resources with the University of the West Indies, their university. When they are faced with deficits and economic decline, unfortunately, we are also called upon to share those deficits. And so, in a region that has not had consistent and uniform development, but it has stops and starts and rise and decline, that has had volatility in the economic development curve, the university has always felt and experience that cyclical volatility in its affairs. And today is the open campus that is most exposed to this circumstance. But our governments have expected us to deal with these situations the best we can. And so we took a decision in management that the time had come, within the context of our strategic plan and our reading of our environment, our political and financial ecosystem, global trends and patterns, the time had come to go back to the drawing board to look at the open campus's future and to take the fundamental decisions that will secure this institution for a magnificent future. This is our role. We did not ask the government to give us an unequivocal and supremely clear statement of action. They have left that to us. And this is what we are doing. We have decided that the tremendous legacy of this open campus and the role it has for the future can only be secured in the context of fundamental restructuring, re-engineering. This is our responsibility. And so we rolled out a plan to transition this campus yet again. And we know our School for Continuing Studies and the evolution to the open campus, and now we're evolving again to the global campus. And this is not surprising because this is reflecting the technological movement and advancement of education within the online format. We are just staying abreast of global trends today in the digital environment. We're not staying still. We are rolling with history, and we are going forward. And so once again, we transition, open to global. But this time, we are making some fundamental housekeeping decisions. We have to be more efficient. And so we have to look at our operations. We have decided to establish within the global campus a business school. This will bring the global campus in line with the other campuses. As you know, the Mona campus has the Mona School of Business, generates considerable resources for the campus. The Cave-Hill campus has the Sagicor School of Business, and Augustine has the Arthur Lockjatt School of Business. The global campus is going to have its own School of Business as a for-profit, entrepreneurial, income-making institution. And we have chosen to call this business school the International School for Development Justice. And we have decided to locate this business school within the parameters of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The world is committed to achieving these goals. These goals are set out. Each country is required to contribute towards the attainment of these goals. And we have become the first university in the world to identify a specific institution to address achieving the capacity on a global scale around those goals. And so we're going to be offering academic programs specifically in the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. This is an entrepreneurial activity. This is a school that will be managed by a private limited liability company. That company will be registered as a for-profit institution. And so we are going forward on two pillars. The entrepreneurial global campus with a school dedicated to income generating by selling the academic programs of this university to the world within the online format, which is the area of excellence and expertise of the traditional open campus. And the other pillar is to maintain and make more efficient what will be the legacy, the traditional open campus. That work across our archipelago, all of that will be sustained. We are thinking that the income generated from the business school will be plowed back into the community service of the legacy open campus, thus making the entire enterprise financially sound, financially sustainable, and critically, that we will be able to reduce significantly our dependence on the governments to maintain our legacy open campus. This work is in progress. Council has approved step one, which is the renaming of the global campus. They have approved step two, which is to develop a strategy to re-engineer, restructure, reorganize. And now they are waiting on stage three, which is the financial business model in which we are engaged to secure the resources to invest in this transformation. And hopefully we are going to be in a position to report to Council at the end of next month with some good news. And so, Madam Chair, distinguished members of Council, this is a moment in which we are simultaneously reflecting and celebrating the past and the achievements of this campus and the wider university, while at the same time we are engaged in some very detailed and sophisticated strategies to put this open campus, now the global campus, into a solid space for its future service. It is at once nerve-wracking because we have to get it right. There's so much that is dependent upon it. But at the same time, it's exciting to be a part of that architectural design for the future of this campus once again. And I dare say, somewhere in the future, it might have to enter another iteration because as the technology evolves, as the demand from our students become much more complex and sophisticated, the search for greater service and efficiency, it's a galloping horse and we have to stay in that saddle. So today, I thank the campus, Madam Chair, for your governance, principal, for your leadership and management and colleagues, for your sacrifice and your solidarity with this institution and the university on the whole. We are doing what we are doing because we hope that in short time, we will put this uncertainty behind us. We are hoping that in the next 2 to 3 months, this uncertainty will be behind us and we will know precisely what we are doing and how we are going to do it. The good news is that the excellence for online delivery that is embedded in the open campus accumulated over the 2 decades, we will put that skill set to the service of the global campus. And the global campus will rise upon the basis of that experience and that knowledge. So members of council, I urge that you join with me in celebrating the leadership of the principal and his team in a very, very difficult circumstance, that we maintain enthusiasm about the future that we are crafting, we are structuring and visioning, while at the same time we take a little time out to celebrate our accomplishments. It is going to be important to smell the roses from time to time. Even as you have your fork and your shovel and you're out there in the garden creating a new frontier, the ones you see around you, smell them. It's been good. The Open Campus has been very, very good to itself and to this university and to the people of this region. Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor. Thank you for recognizing the commitment. Thank you for recognizing the hard work. Thank you for recognizing the courage of the staff of the Open Campus. We would like to wish you continued wisdom and enlightenment as you move us towards the global campus. I would now like to invite the campus registrar, Ms. Althea Gordon, to commence the question and answer session and to take us through that session.
Thank you, Chair. We will now move into the question and answer session. And so I invite questions from persons online, but we must note that we will only be accepting questions from named persons, and we will be taking questions first from our media and then online viewers. I must make a statement based on the chat online that we acknowledge and appreciate the vibrant depth of the conversation in the chat. It is encouraging, and just to know that our stakeholders are able to speak openly about the challenges faced by the Open Campus. We have taken specific note of the issues raised and commit to reviewing and responding using the channels that are more appropriate for engaging strategically. So I thank you very much to our viewers online. Okay, so we move into what is before us by way of questions. So the first question we have is, in your presentation, you mentioned the renaming and rebranding of the Open Campus to the Global Campus with a full rollout of the new brand beginning academic year 23-24. Will this be just a name change? What will be significant about this change, and what is the purpose for the change at this time? Why now? May I direct this to you, Vice Chancellor? I know you addressed this in your presentation just now, but I think persons may want to hear a little bit more about why now.
Thank you, Registrar. Well, now is the culmination of a number of interlocking variables. One, there is no doubt that the financial investment in the Open Campus by the governments of the region has been declining over time. And this has, of course, to do with the fact that their commitment to the UWI on the whole continues to grow. And a decision has been taken in many places that the dollar has to be split in a way that is not directly favorable to the Open Campus. And therefore, that places the campus on a bit of a slippery slope, and therefore forcing it to rise up to become much more income generating, and has to find an additional significant source of revenue to fund its affairs. So the restructuring from Open to Global comes with it some re-engineering. And the Open Campus, now the Global Campus, will join the other campuses in having a business school whose purpose is to sell the Caribbean intellectual content to a world that is demanding it, and to package that information for online delivery. And we have found what we think is a niche market in which the Open Campus, now Global Campus, can insert itself with the possibility of significant income generation. So the Open Campus then will be restructured fundamentally that it will now become a hybrid campus. And by hybrid, what I mean is that it will continue to have that government public sector investment in all of the sites across the Caribbean providing online education to Caribbean citizens. That will continue to be funded by the government, even though at a reduced level. But at the same time, it will also become a business enterprise, a for-profit campus that is looking to generate its income much more aggressively in the form of having a business school. So it is not just a renaming, it's a re-engineering, it's a reconception of how the school is going to survive into the future.
Thank you, sir. We move to our second question. Principal, this one is for you. The right sizing initiative mentioned in your report is a significant undertaking by the campus and will no doubt affect staff tremendously. What plans have you put in place to manage the possible fallout that may occur from this exercise? Principal?
Yes, thank you very much. In the said report, of course, I hope that the assurance was pellucid that this exercise has to be and will be a humane exercise. And I want to disabuse minds of any direct sort of targeting of persons. I want this to be seen first and foremost, what the Vice Chancellor has just underscored. It is time for change. It is time for repurposing into an organization which is fit for purpose, which can undertake the expectations that the global environment has of it. And as a result, that is how we're going forward. Now, our HR unit will be responsible for managing this process. And one of the things that we have thought about, and one of the things that we will pursue, is that when positions have been identified as, say, redundant or superfluous, we will be there with the staff, assisting staff in developing their approaches to alternative employment. And that alternative employment could well be within the university as well. As I have said, I believe at a town hall before, we'll be looking very carefully at openings elsewhere in the university and how people can fit in and alert them in that regard. We're also planning to have all of the usual counseling sort of session, but also, as I said in my report of the camp, that we will be retooling, helping staff to retool and retrain as we move into this sort of process. It is not a first for any organization, but it is a significant one for the open campus, since it's very important that the campus finds its optimal size, its size that can most likely cause it to be a real engineered unit that can take us further. And it is only part of the evolution that has begun since 1948, as I had said. What we try to do is to constantly communicate with our staff. They're human, and we have to treat them courteously. We have to treat them as colleagues. We have to be collegial with our staff. But we also have to motivate them as we move, because we know that this is a very difficult period for them. And we can't emphasize too much that we understand the difficulty that they encounter, but we're also appreciative of the resilience, and they will not be left alone, Campus Registrar.
Thank you so much, Principal. Vice Chancellor, There's a follow-up question to the global campus matter. Given the establishment of the global campus, what is to become of the open campus? Will the global campus replace the open campus?
The open campus has evolved into the global campus. The open campus as we know it today has been involved primarily in bringing university education to communities across the region for a section of our citizenship that either physically could not access the landed campuses or who preferred the online version of academic programs and therefore would prefer to stay at work, look after their families and so on, while at the same time using the online format. All of that stays within the global campus. In other words, we're taking all of that forward. What we are looking at now is simply developing a stronger commercial enterprising approach to selling our knowledge to the world through a global campus online format. But our commitment to the people across the Eastern Caribbean, the Northern Caribbean, the Southern Caribbean, and the rural communities and the inner cities, that work will continue. But we are looking at a strategy that will give us the resources to expand that role. In other words, the legacy traditions of the open campus, the work they have done across this region, we want to enable it to do more of that. But for it to do more of that, it needs an injection of cash on a sustained basis. So we are in pursuit in the global market of this revenue stream to redeploy within the region doing the kind of work that the open campus has always done. So I hope that is kind of clear, because we don't want anyone to think that the functions of the open campus across this region are going to be diminished. No, we are looking for ways to make an even greater investment in the open campus across our Caribbean communities.
Thank you so much, Vice Chancellor. We only have time for one more question, and this one is for our principal. Principal, apart from the right-sizing initiative, are there other initiatives that we're currently pursuing to cut costs?
Yeah, yes. Again, in my presentation, we spoke of our tight rein on operational factors. All right. One of the areas that I think is most notable in that regard, and we have begun that process, that trajectory, is the question of the number of sites that we have. In light of our online expertise, and in light of what we have proven that we can do as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen where we can rationalize our physical presence. And we have begun doing that in terms of sites. So in Jamaica, for instance, we have done some of that, and that has saved quite a lot of money. In terms of our, and that process will continue as we go along, and we'll look at all areas across the campus. But again, always in a strategic way, not in any indiscriminate way. We have, for a long time, been focusing and concentrating on matters of utilities, for instance, where we can cut, we do some cutting. The open campus, and of course, COVID has taught us that lesson. We have for a long time cut travel down almost to zero and traveling when it is absolutely necessary. And the truth is that in the Caribbean, it is actually important to meet people and to meet our stakeholders where that becomes necessary. That, of course, will be done when it becomes opportune. But we have, and as you can see, this meeting, in the past, people would travel to campus council in one particular area, and that has an extensive outlay. But we have saved a lot of money in terms of travel and, you know, the cost of regional travel. So that is significant as well. So in all sorts of areas, we have done that. We have redeployed staff where we can. We have put, we have frozen advertisements and so on. We have found, and it has worked well. We have found staff in certain areas and redeployed them to other parts. And they have blossomed where they have been, where they have been planted. And all of these are, one can say, outcomes of the lessons that we have learned as a result of COVID, but also in our modus operandi of doing things. So there are lots of areas that we have been saving, and we are quite satisfied with the outcomes.
Thank you so much, Principal. I want to thank the Vice Chancellor and the Principal for addressing these questions. And I now hand back over to our Chair, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gordon, for your management of this session. I would like to also take this opportunity to thank all those who participated in the question and answer session. And I now declare this session closed. We will resume in 15 minutes.